What's going on, everybody? Alex here from the Football Guys, here to break down the top 3 free agency moves in the fantasy football world so far. Leading off is none other than Allen Robinson. I love Allen Robinson for the NFL free agency, fantasy football side of things, going to the LA Rams. People forget that Allen Robinson was a top 10 wide receiver in both 2019 and 2020. He was the wide receiver 81 last year, dealing with injuries, bad QB play, bad coaching, awful offense, and a rookie quarterback with Justin Fields. But don't forget that Robert Woods, who is not nearly as good as Allen Robinson, was a top 3 wide receiver the last 3 years under Sean McVay. Robert Woods is the wide receiver 12 before he got hurt in week 9. This Rams offense can support 2 wide receivers, even if Cooper Kupp does exactly what he did last year. And the biggest thing about Robinson that I love is the fact that he can play all over the field. He can be that elite middle of the field player that Woods was. And again, top 10 wide receiver in 2019 and 2020. I think last year was a fluke, and he could be a legit wide receiver 1 with Cooper Kupp. I wouldn't be surprised if both Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp are wide receiver 1s next year. Kupp and Woods were on pace after 9 weeks before Woods tore his ACL last year. Don't be shocked if it happens this year. My number 2 favorite free agent signing is James Conner. It's the only player I have on this list that did not change teams, but I love this James Conner deal. I think he's so underrated. He had 3 years, $21 million deal. He was the running back 5 overall with Chase Edmonds for most of the year. He had 19 touchdowns in 16 games. And I know that, Edmonds got hurt, and maybe that's the reason that Conner did so well. But in the 12 games that Edmonds played with James Conner, Edmonds averaged 12 touches per game. And I know that there's this big narrative that, James Conner can't stay healthy, but there's a little bit of a flip side here that James Conner has played at least 13 games in 4 of 5 seasons. That means that every season except 4 of his 5 seasons, except 1, he's missed no more than 3 games. I'll take a running back that misses 3 or less games any single year, and James Conner has actually done that in 4 of 5 seasons. I know he doesn't always, he's never played the full season and not missed a game, but he's still out there more than most running backs, and he's never really having a big injury. His lowest he played was 10, but I know the highest he played was 15. But in this offense, where he was the running back 5 overall playing with Chase Edmonds, maybe more targets for James Conner without Christian Kirk, and 53 targets for Chase Edmonds gone. I think things are looking up for James Conner. I think that he could definitely be a top 5 running back should he stay healthy for most or the full season this coming year. And my 3rd favorite pick is a pick that I'd be clowning myself for a year ago, but it's Juju Smith-Schuster, Kansas City Chiefs. I love this deal. $2.5 million base contract, but up to $10 million in incentives. And with the way this Chiefs roster is looking right now and its wide receiving core, it is looking like these incentives are very achievable. Juju, though, has not been very good. I'm not saying that all of a sudden he's the wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs and that all of a sudden he's going to be this great player that he used to be. I'm not saying that, but there's big potential here, and that's the point. Wide receiver 65, wide receiver 17, wide receiver 133 the last 3 years. That's not very good, and I acknowledge that. But he has finished as the wide receiver 8 when playing with someone who takes attention away like Antonio Brown, similar to someone like Travis Kelce will. Juju's still only 25 years old. It's not like he's this 30-year-old guy that can't separate anymore. But the biggest thing I love about Juju and the potential of this from a fantasy football perspective is the fact that there are 260 vacated targets between Tyreek Hill, Byron Pringle, and Demarcus Robinson. What do vacated targets mean? Those are targets that those guys got in this offense last year that have left. 159 targets for Tyreek Hill, 41 for Demarcus Robinson, and 60 for Byron Pringle. My goodness, there's a lot of potential for targets for Juju this season. He's playing with the best QB, best offensive coach, and one of the best offenses in the NFL. This is a perfect area where Juju could actually succeed. Is it going to happen? No, but there's obviously big potential here, and I'm ready to buy into that depending on his price. I'd be willing to target him in the, maybe mid 50s to 60s rounds for wide receivers with a lot of big potential if he can get his stuff together. But in this offense with a lot of targets up for grabs, I think there's huge potential for Juju this year. But that is it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the Football Guys, turn those bell notifications on, and keep enjoying great content coming out each and every single day.